So back in the day, schizophrenia in hockey included this team, where they called the California Seals, the Oakland Seals, the California Golden Seals, or the Bay Area Seals. No matter how you look at it, the California Golden Seals, the name we're going to settle on for this podcast, never had a winning season in the NHL. Eventually moved to Cleveland, only had 2 playoff appearances, only won 3 playoff games in those 11 contests. They had some good players, but the amount of machinations that led to them eventually being called the California Golden Seals, we're going to talk a little bit this morning. Now, just a little bit of background. Now, in 1966, the NHL announced that they would be expanding by 6 teams, so they can add a new division for the 68 campaign, officially because of a general desire to expand the league to new markets, but also to squelch the Western Hockey League's threat to turn into a major league, which was the precursor to the WHA. Now, the San Francisco Seals were one such team for the WHL. The NHL decided to award an expansion team to Barry Van Gerberg for the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, Van Gerberg decides to purchase the WHL club with the intent of bringing them into the NHL as an expansion squad the following campaign. Now, we had planned to have the team play in a new arena in San Francisco, but the new arena was never built. He decided to move the team across the bay from the Cow Palace in Daly City to Oakland to play in the new Oakland Alameda County Coliseum Arena. He renamed the club the California Seals. So we're going from San Francisco Seals to California Seals. This was done in an attempt to appeal to the fans from San Francisco and to address complaints from the other NHL teams that Oakland was not considered a major league city and would not be a draw for fans. Now, a year later, Van Gerber brought the Seals in the NHL as an expansion team and retained a portion of the club's WHL's roster, such as Charlie Burns, George Schwarbrick, Jerry Ardowski, Tom Turlby, and Ron Harris. While the Bay Area was not considered a particularly lucrative hockey market, the terms of a new television agreement with CBS called from 2 of the expansion teams to be located in California, the other one being LA, of course. Now, while the Seals had drawn well at the Cow Palace, the team drew poorly in Oakland once they entered the NHL. The plan to bring fans in from the San Francisco area failed, and on November 6, 1967, Van Gerberg announced that the team's name would be changed back to the Oakland Seals, although the league did not register the change until December to focus more on the East Bay. Now, the Seals were never successful at the gate even after the name change, and because of this poor attendance, Van Gerberg threatened on numerous occasions to move the team elsewhere, including, of all places, Vancouver. Now, first-year coach and GM Burr Olmsted publicly advocated that move as well to the Canadian city, but an offer from Labatt's Brewery, who later got involved in getting the Blue Jays to Toronto, to purchase and relocate the team was rejected by the league, as was a proposal to move the team to Buffalo from the Knox brothers, who had been shut out of the 67 expansion, but again, Buffalo came in the 1970 expansion. As it turned out, again, expansion in that year, 1970, also included Vancouver. The Knoxes bought a minority share of the Seals in 69, only to sell it a year later to fund the Sabres. This, as well as the team's mediocre on-ice performance, led to major changes to both the Seals front office and its roster, as only 7 of the 20 Seals players remained after the first season. The new-look Seals were somewhat more successful, making the playoffs again for 2 straight years, although with sub-500 records. Those were the only 2 years again that the franchise made the playoffs. The league's rejection of a proposed move to Vancouver prompted a lawsuit that was not settled until 1974. The Seals organization filed suit against the NHL, claiming that the prohibition violated the Sherman Act. The Seals asserted that the league's constitution was a violation by prohibiting clubs from relocating their operations, and the relocation request was denied in an attempt to keep the San Francisco market in the NHL, and thereby discourage the formation of a rival team or league in that location. The court ruled that the NHL was a single entity and that the teams were not competitors in an economic sense, so the league's restrictions on relocation were not a restraint of trade. For the 70 season, the team was sold to Transnational Communications, whose investors included former NFL player and CBS broadcaster Pat Summerall and former Yankee Whitey Ford. However, the group filed for bankruptcy after missing a payment and relinquished the team to Van Gerberg, who put the team back on the market. Now here where it gets totally bizarre, ladies and gentlemen. One of the weirdest owners in baseball history got involved. Now, prior to the 71 season, Charles O. Finley, the owner of the Oakland A's and the three-time World Series champion of the 1970s, purchased the Seals. Finley and roller derby boss Jerry Seltzer had both put in a bid on a team. Although Seltzer's offer was slightly better and included a more detailed plan for a revival, a majority of NHL owners from the old establishment voted in favor of Finley, who I think were voted for because he had tons of cash. Now, general manager Bill Torrey left by mid-season due to clashes for Finley and ended up with the new expansion franchise in New York, the Islanders. Now, Finley renamed the team the Bay Area Seals to begin the 1971 season. And I don't really know if there's any merchandise or hockey cards with that name. I'll have to check into that. I know there's been some pennants and other related material, but not too much out there for the longtime fans of the Seals to look at. Now, after just two games of the season, on October 1670, he changed the team name to, by my memory, the Ford version, the California Golden Seals. Following a number of other marketing gimmicks intended to sell the team to the fans, among them changing the Seals colors to green and gold to match those of the popular A's. The team's uniform crest was now the word Seals in unique typeface, but an alternate logo using a sketch based on a photo of star player Carol Vadnais, a former Montreal Canadian, was used on marketing materials such as pennants, stickers, and team programs. Now, the original 1967 California Seals logo was recolored in green and gold and was often seen on trading cards and other unofficial material, but was never officially adopted by the team. Now, the Seals are remembered for wearing white skates, but initially Torrey convinced Finley to use green and gold painted skates instead, as team-colored skates were a trend of the period. However, this was all for naught, as the Seals finished with the worst record in the NHL that year. Other innovations that Finley Seals incorporated were the inclusion of player names in the back of the jerseys, which then set the precedent for today's 31 current NHL teams, identifying players in the same fashion. Finley was also the first owner to allow players to fly first class on commercial flights to games. The Seals regularly used the new Boeing 747s the airlines had put in service at the time. Finley also introduced the flamboyant green and gold Seals luggage, which all players and coaches were required to carry to identify them as the Northern California NHL team. Now, worse than this, on May 22, 1970, the Seals traded their pick in the first round of the 71 NHL amateur draft to the Habs along with Francois Lacombe in return for Montreal's first round pick in the 70 draft, which ended up be Chris Ovleson, Ernie Hickey, and Cash. As a result of the Seals' dreadful season, the Canadiens had a top pick in the 71 draft and used it to select future Hall of Fame member Guy Lafleur. This transaction now ranks as one of the most one-sided deals in NHL history. Now, as the seasons went on, the team was showing some improvements in attendance and on-ice play, and the Gunn brothers persuaded Swig to eventually seek approval to move the team to their hometown of Cleveland. Now, the team's final game in Oakland was a win over the Kings on April 4th, 1976, and league approval for the move was granted on July 14th, and the team was renamed the Cleveland Barons after the city's old AHL squad, which was, of course, the affiliate of the Montreal Canadiens for some time. Now, we know that the San Jose Sharks play in the same general area as the Seals, and they've gone on to great success. And, we've had some great players that have gone on from the Seals, including Des Murrock. But what I find very confusing, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if they were just trying to lose, but we look at the 1974 season, right? Okay. You only scored 195 goals that year, lost 55 contests. Now, was this the worst NHL team of all time? Well, there's Some people say yes, some people say no. But the confusion of why they thought that hockey would work in that part of California when baseball was king, where football was king. I think soccer was doing well out there too. It's too bad. It was a good concept. It was like 10 years too early. But I think where I worked in L.A. is because, they could get the Hollywood aspect. And there were some good teams in Los Angeles that played around expansion because you had a lot of, when Marcel Dion arrived well before Gretzky, you had good drafts being there. But all I remember Saturday nights when the Seals used to come into the Forum to play the Habs, it was cruel, ladies and gentlemen. Now this team, just put this in perspective, ladies and gentlemen, they only scored more than 220 goals once in their franchise history in the last season. They could not score. It wasn't really defense that was their problem. It was offense. Now, 9-year record for the Seals: 182, 401, 115 ties. They only scored 1,826 goals for in 9 seasons, so they're averaging 200 goals a season. Anyway, it is what it is. So, ladies and gentlemen, thanks for listening. Give us a like, comment, or subscribe. And if you're a fan of the Seals, I really respect you because it takes a lot to understand losing. Bye.